Hello, everyone. I'm happy and honored to welcome you today to this quick discussion on the design stage. Today, we will talk about the delicate, very important, and complex subject, which is eco-conscious design in the world of architecture. But before we start, allow me to introduce us first. Atelier Architect, Christian Barzotti et Associés, established in 2001 by Christian Barzotti in Valfardange, Luxembourg. Atelier Architect boasts a strong expertise in the design and planning of public and private projects of contemporary and highly energy-efficient architecture. At Atelier Architect, we offer a comprehensive suite of services ranging from interior design to urban planning, including energy consulting and BIM services, modeling, coordinating, and management. As designers of the first public positive energy building in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, our studio is one of the forerunners in the field of energy efficient and low carbon architecture in Luxembourg. As for me, my name is Yara Oweiss, architect, urbanist, and BIM specialist at Atelier Architect, certified Graphisoft BIM manager in accordance with ISO 19650, certified BIM coordinator modeler by CRTIB and House of Training Building Smart in Luxembourg, a Graphisoft Insider panel member, a member of Women in BIM organization, and a part of the Women in BIM Mentor program, a BIM Hero community ambassador for Luxembourg, and proud presenter in the Virtual Summit for the BIM Coordinator Summit. The power of sustainable, responsible architecture. We will explore today eco-consciousness design in modern architecture. Architecture is largely responsible for the lifestyle and environment we live in. Architecture is not simply a question of creating aesthetic but partial edifices. Architecture is a branch of science that takes account of the basic human needs, environmental factors, nature and ecological balance, energy conservation, sustainability, and necessity. The evaluation of modern architecture is shaped by the impact of energy efficiency codes, shifts in climate condition of commercial buildings, and the influence of glazed curtain wall buildings. There is a fundamental nature of modern architecture that as building energy efficiency has increased, so too has the energy consumption of the built environment. Following the adoption of the 1975 Energy Efficiency Code for Building, the Model Energy Code, average energy use intensity in US commercial buildings diminished. However, the year-defining cooling climate conditions of commercial buildings also changed. After the adoption of the code, commercial buildings progressively shifted from their former climatic conditions, those enjoying consistency, moderate temperature with ample night ventilation and window shading, to climate defined by unequal mixture of external heating and cooling methods. At least partially responsible for this broad climate change among commercial buildings that arose on or near the first oil crisis, commencing in the year 1970s and growing currently in number and popularity. These buildings and their family of modern architecture, while iconic, are surprisingly energy efficient, although neat and repetitively fundamental studies suggest that there exists energy conservation potential in altering the night cooling and heating ventilation control of these buildings. It remains unclear, at least a priori, if the expected energy saving exceeds the energy used to mechanically rectify the lack of ventilation during the cross-ventilated nights. Interestingly, Questions like this one, asking how to build environment affects natural ventilation, should today interest architects and affect their designs. In practically, they should ask how new designs, when coupled to the existing built environment, would affect natural ventilation and hence energy performance. Eco-conscious design is architecture that is conscious response to the where, physically, geographically, culturally, economically, ecologically, and naturally. Eco-conscious design is an architecture that is conscious response to the why, the basic needs and aspiration of the client and the local and global issues. Eco-conscious design is architecture that is a conscious response to the how, modern technology and advances of the industry with due consideration to the durability and life cycle costing of the development. Eco-conscious design is an active branch of research and development. It addresses such varied issues as energy and potable water conservation, waste minimization, besides local waste disposal, sewage treatment, recycling plants, building materials with recycled content or materials that are environmentally friendly, rain captured water, site runoff, flood mitigation and diversion, low fuel transport, bioclimatic architecture for earth sheltered thermal mass, daylighting, and natural ventilation, etc. Eco-conscious design is architecture that is conscious response to the day. Sustainable, responsible architecture is viewed as one of the mechanisms through which human needs, aspirations, and designer philosophy are meditated in the process of design. Eco-conscious design finally translates into built forms and is frozen in time. Built forms are edited through time in response to socio-technical changes, such as technological change, social change, etc. And eco-conscious design is not only the generation and representation of ideas about built forms, plans to construct built forms, and detailed instruction related to construct built form and their systems, but also the processes involved in such activities. Sustainable responsible architecture, by definition, incorporates the consideration of the whole building's impact on the environment, site, and culture. The key values include a desire to minimize the building's footprint, net zero energy reduction in natural resources consumed, and net zero waste. New discoveries reveal that problems, though unattainable, become livable reality. These uplifting architectural stories and astonishing technologies reinforce the challenge and trustworthiness of sustainable architecture. This convergence and consolidation of ecology building experts and educational institutions were stimulated by the realization that if groundbreaking innovation in building design don't come now, it may be too late. The immediate and reverberating impacts of buildings on the environment could not be more evident. There is also recognition of the potential for cohesive, synergistic, well-integrated operations and succeeding pioneering miracles to effectuate a sea change in how building mitigate environmental impact. The key values of sustainable responsible architecture include net zero energy consumption, reduced natural resources utilization, and zero waste generation, aligning with environmental conservation goals and sustainable practices. Sustainable architecture mitigates the environmental impacts of building, emphasizing regenerative design principles, resource efficiency, and sustainable construction practices to create a positive ecological footprint. Therefore, the design of the building must be simple for energy conserving, and energy supply. Many renewable energy resources can be found in nature, such as solar energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, hydropower, biogas, wave energy, and biomass energy. All these energy resources, however, are not still well exploited. Green materials, for example, mean actual materials which are environmentally friendly, energy efficient, and recyclable at the end of their life. In recent years, a number of innovative building materials have been developed considering sustainability. It's hard to imagine any architectural design process without challenging new materials and technology. The architecture of tomorrow should really consider the impact of building materials and building technologies on the environment. It can be positive because these materials and technology may cause less pollution in the environment, keeping the ecological balance as well as long-term sustainability. But it can also be negative because these materials and technology too intensively exploit natural resources that the planet cannot regenerate any longer, or create waste or pollution that the planet cannot absorb any longer. The best case scenario would be to make use of post-industrial or post-consumer waste building materials in the design process, recycling destructured building, considering the whole life cycle of materials and designing efficient technologies. Also, selecting appropriate biosourced materials calls for new know-how and relevant indicators to assess environmental impact, cost, comfort, consideration, and to fit various stakeholders. In this presentation, we compare the thermal, mechanical, and environmental performances of the eco-conscious architecture, and also the materials, wood and other plant-based materials, and present the restoration of existing frameworks with three-dimensional printed biosourced parts made with mycelium. We underline how advertisement and misinformation about biosourcing mostly whitewash alternative building concepts, while preferring biosourced material for a commonly shared national aspiration. These materials should not be overused nor used in the wrong context. Which bring us to the circular design. With a focus on circular design principles as the regenerative and restorative aspects of responsible, sustainable architecture, there were achievements that would fill out this section. There would be definitions and consideration of circular economy concepts for architecture and design perspectives, cradle-to-cradle design principle, consideration of how these principles could be used as a springboard for discussion and strategy to create closed-loop systems in architecture, exploring and exploiting of literature or case studies showcasing some great realized work being done at these scales, and discovery of the regenerative potential of circular design as a means of minimizing waste and maximizing resources efficiency. Not every building gets built to last forever. A literal worst-case scenario propped up a top story on a street-side parking lot with jack stands, studdily bulky balconies boxes added years later, and flashing placed up unplanned. Uncalibrated relationship with the weather would probably get unhappy in fairly short order. What would be similarly unmotive describe a yearly annual return or affirmative benefit with things like saving gained through lack of daytime sunlight or outstyling, for example. Outstyling production results word spam circulation through the internet. There, there, there exists nothing direct on any accidental merit to this kind of building, none pleasure, no civic righteousness or diversity, no opportunity for reappropriation to regenerative purposes or positive re-entrance into broader environmental cycles. Instead, a beginning here leads through two recently product books, Friendly Materials and Salvageability. Then reassess these questions. If building does not last forever, what happens then? Sustainable design traditionally aims to understand and optimize the impact of building on existing capital, resources, and demographic systems that can be artificially depleted, augmented, or redirected through the use of buildings. Circular economy design, almost as a side effect, is a model for contemplating effects on the future qualities of the built capital as a thing itself, the irretrievable losses implicit in a good many things. In summarizing the ideas and notion introduced in this presentation, the rationale for eco-conscious design was documented with an emphasis on the power that sustainable responsible architecture hold in foreign changes in communities and neighborhoods. When upholding historical tenets that prioritize redistributive justice in the built environment, the use of eco-conscious design can help to design resources such as local community parks, provide a forum for healing, and step forward in addressing various injustices of community. These much-needed resources can bring communities back to the forefront of the social and political arena where their voices can be fully heard and utilized. As a parting note, no action may appear to be too small. Relying communities member to attend town hall meetings and voice grievances to elect officials is still action. Publicly championing these efforts and documenting actions on social media is still an action. Have conversations with individuals that help them truthfully unpack the word seen around them is still action. While community self-determination and social equity in the built environment are major goals, there are multiple paths towards these goals, and there is most likely a path for every interpretation, inclination, and ability to act. All action undertaken can provide value to this wider landscape while creating footholds for transaction towards these greater goals. And so, by the end of this presentation, we here talking about the subject is also an action. So I would like to maybe help us raise the word to get more architecture, sustainable, responsible action in this word and help us also celebrate the beauty of responsible architecture. Thank you. Please join us in the panel for all your questions to be answered, and I'm waiting there. Thank you.